In this lesson, we will review how to write and evaluate variable expressions. First, let's review some vocabulary. A variable is a letter that is used to represent an unknown number. So in algebra, we can use any letter of the alphabet that we want. A lot of times we think of using X or Y, but you can use any letter. A variable, or an algebraic expression, is a math sentence that is made up of letters, numbers, and symbols. So an example of a variable expression or an algebraic expression would be 2x plus 3. It's made up of variables, numbers, and symbols. Number 3, the word evaluate means to solve. Okay, often we're going to see the word evaluate. That's just a fancy math word for solve. And then finally, a numeric expression. A numeric expression is a math sentence made up of numbers and symbols. So, for example, 5 plus 3. That's a numeric expression. We just have numbers and symbols. Different from a variable expression where we have a variable in the expression. Evaluating numeric expressions is just solving a math problem. It is important that we remember the order of operations, but that's all there is to solving a numeric expression. I want to point out to you 3 numeric expressions and talk about the differences in each of those, because this is something that will come up often, and I want to make sure that we remember that. If you look at number 1, it says negative 2 to the 4th power. And I want you to take notice that the negative sign is outside the parentheses. That's going to impact how we think about this problem. In our thought process, we're going to think 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. We're just going to solve that. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. And then we're going to take this negative sign that was out in front of the parentheses, and we're going to just automatically move that to the answer. Okay, notice how I didn't do anything with the negative sign until the problem was over, and when I had finished solving, I just stuck the negative sign on my answer. Okay, now look at number 2. I want you to notice that the negative sign is inside the parentheses. That's going to impact our thinking. In this one, because the parentheses attach the negative and the 2 together, they're both inside, we think negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. We think about the negative the whole way through the process. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. And 4 times 4 is 16. Notice that we got a positive answer this time. All that changed was the location of the negative sign, and this time we got a positive answer. Now look at number 3, no parentheses at all. If this is the case, we solve it much like number 1. We ignore the negative sign and we think 2 to the 4th. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which we now know is 16. And then we take the negative sign from the front and we just attach it to the answer. So 1 and 3 are very similar. We ignore the negative signs until the end, and then we just put them on the answer. Number 2, because of the parentheses, we keep the negative with the number the whole way through solving the problem. Okay, now let's evaluate a variable expression. So we have a problem with letters, numbers, and symbols. And when this is the case, what we do is we take out the letter and we fill in the number in its place. So I'm going to erase the A, and in its place, I'm going to fill in A is negative 4. So I'm going to fill in negative 4. Now I'm simply going to follow the order of operations and solve. So let's multiply first. We get negative 20 minus 3 plus 7. Order of operations says if we have addition and subtraction together, we work left to right. So we do negative 20 minus 3, that's negative 23. And then finally my last step is negative 23 plus 7, which is negative 16. Okay. Let's take one more example. It says x squared times negative 3 plus 16. So, and I'm going to solve this one right up above it. In place of x, I'm going to fill in negative 3 times negative 3 plus 16. Now, in order of operations, we have parentheses, but there's nothing to solve inside of there, so we move to the exponent. So this is negative 3 squared. It's in parentheses, so we think negative 3 times negative 3, which is 9. Now my new problem says 9 times negative 3 plus 16. So 9 times negative 3 is negative 27. Negative 27 plus 16 is negative 11. Okay? So if we evaluate a numeric expression, it just has numbers. We follow the order of operations. If we have a variable expression, we plug in the value for the variable that we're given, and then we solve again using the order of operations. I want you to take notice, on this page is a list of keywords, words that when we see them in a sentence or a word problem, we need to think of certain operations. So I want you to take note of this page, and I want you to reference it often. Now, we're going to take some written words and we're going to translate those into variable expressions. So number 1, it says the sum. That's a key word. If you're not sure what that means, you can refer back to the chart. But sum means the answer to an addition problem. So we're going to add two things together. Now let's read on. What are we going to add? We're going to add a number y plus 20. There's our variable expression, y plus 20. Number 2, 6 more than, that's a keyword, twice, that's a keyword, a number y. So again, you can refer to the chart if you need to, but more than means plus, and twice means 2 times something. So let's read here. We're going to say 6 more than, 6 plus, twice the number y. So 2 times y. Number 3, the difference. Difference is the key word here. That means subtraction. The difference of 8 and a number y. So 8 minus y. Number 4, 9 divided by a number y. So 9 divided by y. Now I also want you to remember, in the last lesson we reviewed that division is the same as a fraction bar, so we could have written that as 9 divided by y as well. Number 5, the product of a number y and 20 added to 18. Product, meaning multiplication. Added to, of course, means plus. So what are we to multiply? The product of a number y and 20. So we say 20 times y. And in algebra, I want you to notice that when we communicate multiplication with a number and a letter, we just write them next to each other. We don't need a symbol, just number next to letter. Okay, so the product of y and 20, 20 times y, added to 18. There's our expression. I didn't do a very good job writing that 18. Let me back up and write that again. Okay, number 6, 2 less than a number y. 2 less than, that's subtraction. So 2 less than a number y. This phrase less than can be tricky. I'm going to substitute a number in here. I'm going to say 2 less than 10, just to help me think for a minute. What's 2 less than 10? Well, most of you would say that's 8. 2 less than 10 is 8. But I want you to think, how do you get to that answer 8? Is it 2 minus 10? Or is it 10 minus 2? Well, 2 minus 10 is negative 8. That's not what we're after. 10 minus 2 is 8. So notice that when I want to write 2 less than 10, that's 10 minus 2. It's backwards. The phrase less than, we start at the end and work backwards. So it's going to be y minus 2. Now remember, if you need some help on this writing variable expressions, please plan to attend a teacher-led session. Both Mrs. Smith and I are ready to lead some practice sessions on this concept.